from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is On Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a chilly Tuesday. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Just a busy week. Just a lot going on. We've got 2 hours to fill you in on all that we can here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I hope your week is off to a good start. Staying warm out there. I guess probably our last cool snap of the year. I'm hopeful it's our last cool snap of the year. I could honestly do without it, but it's here, so we persevere. So over the next 2 hours, LSU basketball starting to dip into the transfer portal. We're getting some names released. We'll get into that here in a couple minutes. Glenn West, always with us on Tuesdays. He of Go247. He'll be with us at 1:30. Mississippi State kicking things off in the NCAA tournament tonight. They'll be playing Pittsburgh and Dayton. We'll talk about that a little later. LSU and UNO from the box. What does Blake Dean's team have, and what do the Tigers need to accomplish in what is now literally their final game before SEC play? As kind of the weekend was the last dress rehearsal. This is just a tune-up. Let's go play some baseball this weekend. SEC baseball made some announcements today that we'll get to in the second hour. Sharif Ishak talking Pels and a lot of Saints as well at 2:30, as he always does on Tuesdays. So the Saints are where we're going to start today. It's been interesting because we kind of figured this would be a quiet time for the Saints after the Derek Carr signing. You look at the salary cap, you look at where the Saints were positioned, you look at what they're capable of doing, and you figure, yeah, that first land rush of 24 hours of free agent signings probably not going to involve the Saints all that much. But that hasn't really been the case because they have made a couple of announcements to rather large names, and then some guys have decided to play elsewhere. So I kind of wanted to dive into what the Saints are looking at. And just over the last 15 minutes, it's been announced that Michael Thomas is going to come back to New Orleans to play next year on a one-year contract. It's a $10 million deal, a max of $15 million with various incentives that are going to be laid out. We don't have the contractual language just yet because it's just breaking. Adam Schefter had it. Ian Rappaport had it. But we do understand that Michael Thomas is going to come back. It looked like when the Saints did the restructure, and I will be very upfront with you on salary cap stuff, I got to read it. I can't digest it and just regurgitate it right back to you. Like, I feel pretty confident talking MLB draft signing pools and high school LSU signees in July. That rolls off my tongue, and I'm pretty well versed in that, and it can be a little bit complicated to some people. Salary cap conversations are a little complicated for some people and German to me. So I understand that the initial restructuring of Michael Thomas's deal essentially set the stage for the Saints to move on and for Michael Thomas to move on. That was the nuts and bolts of it. But Michael Thomas kind of sat back and I think wanted to know what the plan was at the quarterback spot. And once Derek Carr jumped on board, we found out from Derek Carr that he had extensive conversations, maybe just one conversation, but spoke to at length Michael Thomas. And I think those guys really hit it off. I think they're excited about what could be. And Michael Thomas made the decision, hey, let's restructure this contract. I know that I signed for $1 bajillion. We'll take slightly less than $1 bajillion, and we'll move forward on this thing here in New Orleans. So how do we want to talk about this? Last year, I was pretty comfortable saying having Michael Thomas back with the Saints, with the draft pick of Chris Olave, and with Jarvis Landry coming on board, it felt like a really solid wide receiver core. I didn't have any problem saying 29-year-old Michael Thomas, after a 2020 year where he played through injury and a 2021 where he missed the whole thing, it's reasonable, in my opinion, to think, man, he could return to some elite level NFL form. I feel differently 9 months later, personally. I think it's unlikely that Michael Thomas is a 1,200-yard receiver at this point. I wouldn't rule it out entirely, but to me, it's unlikely. Go back now, statistically looking at him. He burst onto the scene in 2016, has an 1,100-yard year as a rookie. His second year in 17, he makes the Pro Bowl, catches 1,200 yards worth of balls. His third year in 2018, he catches 125 passes to lead the NFL. He's a first-team All-Pro. And in 2019, he sets the receptions record, leads the NFL in receiving yards, 1,725, over 100 yards per game in 16 games played, AP Offensive Player of the Year, first-team All-Pro. At that point, you've got a top 4 wide receiver in the NFL. You want to argue he's the best wide receiver in the NFL? I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But you've got a top 4 any way you want to slice it. And then 2020 comes, and you only get 7 games out of him. You only get 5 starts out of him. He just couldn't give it a go. And then 2021 comes, and he just misses the whole season with an ankle. And then 2022 comes, and that's where I'm comfortable telling you, okay, this guy has a chance to return to be a legitimate number 1 Pro Bowl type wide receiver. And he plays in 3 games. Now, the Falcons game, in the second half, they couldn't deal with him. He was unstoppable. And then he got hurt again. And you never saw him again. So now, over the course of 3 full seasons, next year being the start of 4, he's started 8 games. He's made 56 catches. He's scored 3 touchdowns in 3 years. So I'm going to start the conversation at the top level of Michael Thomas. In my opinion, it's unrealistic to believe that that's still in the tank. So how far down that ladder are you willing to go for a $10 million receiver on this Saints roster? And at that point, I start to open my eyes a little bit and say, you know, you might have found something in Shaheed, and he might be a real key piece to this offense. In fact, it's likely that he is. Olave was great last year, among the best rookie receivers in the NFL. Maybe he takes a step up. It's likely he takes a step up. So I've now gotten to likely on Shaheed being a key piece to the wide receiving puzzle and Olave becoming a Pro Bowl wide receiver. I think those things are likely. So now I don't need Michael Thomas to catch 1,700 yards worth of balls or 1,400 yards worth of balls. I need him to catch 820 yards worth, some key third downs, and then the pie is cut a little bit more equally. Do you remember what the Saints wide receiver core looked like back in 2019? Like, it was like Michael Thomas or nothing at that point. It doesn't have to be that way anymore because you may have been able to fill the framework a little bit more equally. It was just remarkable that Ted Ginn was second among wide receivers on that team. He had 30 catches. So yeah, Michael Thomas was at one point maybe the best receiver in the league. They didn't have anybody else. He just needs to be a piece. I think it's possible. And I think on a 1-year deal, that's good. I've spent some time criticizing the way the Saints have handled some things over the last 10 months. I don't love the Derek Carr deal. This one's okay. This is okay. I don't need 1,700-yard Michael Thomas. I need 800-yard Michael Thomas. That is less than half. I need him out there for 15 games out of 17. It's a small risk to give him $10 million guaranteed on a 1-year deal because If he gets hurt again, that's it.
You said you needed Thomas to have 800 yards?
Yeah.
Wouldn't he have to have like 200 yards a game to do that?
That's fair. At that point,
I'm just assuming he plays around 4.
At that point, you cut him.
I think the 4 games him and Carr have together next year is going to be awesome.
It's going to be music.
I think it's
going
to
be
be really
out
good.
there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and look, if that's the case, you cut him. I think it's on a 1-year deal. It's just not a very risky play. So that, I think, is positive news for the Saints. Another player that is coming back to New Orleans is Jameis Winston. And I think that's good news for the Saints. Derek Carr's been a durable player. He's been a dependable player. He hasn't been a spectacular player, but he plays. But it's nice to have a high floor backup. And right now, in my opinion, the Saints are not Super Bowl contenders to me right now. But they are NFC South contenders, and that's a very different stratosphere. And if Derek Carr were to miss a month, Jameis Winston can be competitive in the South. I don't want to hitch my wagon to him for 17 games. October, we could do that. I think it's a good deal. Jameis is comfortable there. The players like him. He has a relationship with the staff. He's done great things in the city. I think it's a good thing that Jameis is going to come back. It's a little sobering probably to him to realize that's where he is at this point, and that's what we talked about yesterday, but I think it's a good thing. And the last Saints note, before we get to some LSU basketball transfer portal talk, is that Marcus Davenport signed a deal with the Vikings yesterday. He signed a deal with the Vikings for $13 million. And I saw that and I went, wait, what? He signed for what? This is a guy that we've essentially, in this market, written off as a bust. The Saints put large investment in Marcus Davenport and expected really good things from him on the defensive front. The man, I mean, it's a laughable stat, and it's overused because it was so noteworthy when he got ejected in the last. He had more ejections than sacks last year. I mean, half a sack? Guy got run in the last game of the year? It was, appeared kind of a fitting end to his time in New York. The Vikings are saddling up for that. And I know that he had 9 sacks a couple years ago. But I'm just not willing to invest that type of money on this guy when in 2020 he had a sack and a half and played 11 games. In 2021 he had 9 sacks and played 11 games. And then last year stayed relatively healthy, played 15 games and had half a sack. 2 TFLs. The Saints' defensive line last year was dropping off in a big way. And David Onyemata moves on, and Shai Tuttle moves on, and Marcus Davenport moves on, and you look around, and there's just about nobody left. It's the Will Smith gif. Looking around, where is everybody? And, yeah, I realize you got to fill that out and figure it out. Got to have some bodies out there. But the ones they had last year, I'm not exactly crying that they're gone. Saints were soft against the run, didn't have a pass rush at all from the interior. Go get your money elsewhere, folks. If I'm the Saints, I'm trying to retool this thing. And again, like we talked about yesterday, it's going to be difficult to do when you look at their salary cap situation, but they're now under it. They've restructured enough contracts, moved enough money around that they're now under the salary cap, but not a significant amount where you can get in on this feeding frenzy that's going on across the NFL. You've got the draft, you've got undrafted free agents, and you've got the rest of the free agent class. Maybe they regress on the defensive line without these 3 guys. I'm willing to take that risk because last year they just weren't good up front. A franchise that has made its mark stopping the run over the last 10, 12 years. Well, no, really that great defense about 5 years. The great defense for 5 years, that the guys that did that are gone. Time to retool it. So a lot of Saints news over the last 24 hours. The biggest of the day, Michael Thomas has agreed to come back on a 1-year, $10 million deal, has a max of $15 million with the incentives that they have baked in. Glenn West is going to be with us. He is from Go 247 talking LSU baseball and a little bit of hoops as well. But when we come back, LSU basketball in the market for some transfers. We know got one that they've already got their eyes on. I'll tell you who it is and what I think about it next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
All right, let's join us for a Wednesday edition of Off the Bench as we recap Pelicans versus Lakers, look ahead to the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and a new edition of Would You Rather Wednesday. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West of Go247 with us here in about 10 minutes. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Had a little pleasant surprise this morning. Got a little family lunch. The cousins were in town touring LSU down from Shreveport. Abby Wego in town checking out LSU. I know she's got some Bulldog red and blue in the blood, but giving the purple and gold a look, we like that. Hope she enjoyed her time. Shout out Abby Wego and the whole Wego fam. Enjoyable lunch earlier today. Let's talk a little LSU basketball. We know, and I've made this very, very clear, LSU's next couple of basketball seasons are going to be far more dependent on the transfer portal than they are elite level high school recruiting. That's just the nature of the sport in more places than not. I've tried to paint that picture with teams around the league and even around the country because it's just a little bit different than it used to be. And this year, I think so many LSU fans may have checked out on basketball and weren't aware of what was going on in the Southeastern Conference, but so many of the great players in the league were transfers, and that's where you've got to go. And so LSU, with 2 high school signees in the boat already, are going to continue to mine that, but they're also going to look at the transfer portal heavily, and that time starts like yesterday. And so one of the names that has surfaced that LSU's made some contact with this, it's out on social media, and you got the recruiting analysts that are following it that are aware that BJ Mack is very much a guy that LSU is interested in. He is a 6'8", 245-pound forward center. He's a big body from Wofford, and this is a guy who has been a really productive player at Wofford. In 2021-22, started all 32 games. He was second team all-conference. In that year, he led the team at 16.5 points, 6 rebounds per game. He shot 54% from the floor. He led the team in three-point shooting at 45% at 6'8", 245. This past year, he started 32 games, was first team All-SoCon by the coaches and by the media. He averaged 16.5 points per game and led the team in rebounds with 5.5 points per game. And the one thing I wanted to look at, because I know that Wofford came here, and I wasn't doing quite as extensive scouting reports this year for the show as I was on Hoops with Hunt when I was doing 20 minutes on LSU and Wofford on Hoops with Hunt. This was it was during football season, and I just kind of went over it. But Wofford played 3 SEC teams this year. They came here and played LSU, and Mack in that game scored 18 points and grabbed 9 rebounds. He knocked down a couple of threes. They went to Vanderbilt and played the Commodores. In that game, Mack, against Liam Robbins, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, had 19 points, was 4 of 7 from 3, and grabbed 4 rebounds in that game as well. And then Wofford played Texas A&M. He had 10 points in that game and grabbed 4 rebounds. When I watch Mack on tape, he is in the KJ Williams mold. He's a little smaller, and he's wider. He's got a wider frame than KJ, and probably not as athletic. But what Mack is a very skilled player. He puts the ball on the floor. He finishes around the rim. He obviously can shoot the 3. He shot 45% from 3 2 years ago and shot the 3 pretty well this past year. He's a scorer on the offensive end. Now, am I concerned when I watch his tape that he may have trouble dealing with some of the athletes at 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" in the SEC when he's on defense? Possibly. I can't see enough. When you look at a highlight tape of a player, you're going to see them on offense scoring more often than not. And that's an impressive piece to his game. But the body, it's a big body. I mean, it's 6'8", 245 pounds, and he uses it really well on offense. I worry about it maybe a little bit on defense. But when you look at LSU's front court and you look at Sean Phillips, he's going to be able to handle maybe some of those better athletes at 7 feet tall and a good athlete. You look at Derek Fountain. He's a good athlete at 6'8". So maybe that alleviates some of my concerns. And certainly Jalen Reed is a good athlete. So maybe you've got guys that can defend. You can maybe put Mack on one of the lesser offensive players defensively and let him do most of his work on the offensive end of the floor. I think that's would be awesome. So this is, as I look at the tape and the statistics that he's compiled over 4 years of college basketball, this would be a take for me. This would be a guy that I think helps LSU. I made a big point yesterday in talking about LSU and what they need for next year's roster and telling you that this past season, the guard play simply wasn't good enough. You weren't efficient scoring. You turned the ball over. You didn't shoot free throws well. You couldn't get to the rim. The assist numbers weren't great. Basically, everything they did in the backcourt was inadequate and is the reason, in my opinion, they struggled to win as many games as they did. So this doesn't help you there. 6'8", 245. But he would help you offensively, and he would immediately, in my opinion, take up a good amount of the slack that KJ Williams is going to leave. I don't think he's as good as KJ, but it's close. And they're similar style of player. They're mainly below the rim, really skilled, can put it in the bucket. Not elite athletes, not necessarily NBA prospects, I don't think, but certainly capable SEC players on a winning basketball team. So this is the first name that I have seen. There are a couple that are rolling out. As I determine there's more sincere interest in both parties for other names moving forward, I'll get to those. This one, I think, already at this point warrants a look. Now, he's going to look at some other places, Arkansas, Tennessee, some other teams, some other schools in the SEC, and I don't think it's even close to like, done deal, he's coming to LSU. I don't think you're anywhere close to that. I think he's going to explore his options, and he will certainly have some because he's a heck of a player. But I think LSU is in the mix here, and that would be a really nice add, I think, for this team. I'm most concerned if I can create the profile of the transfer portal guy I want. He's 6'3", good assist to turnover, 38% from three-point range, 22 years old. Like, that's the guy I want. It's hard. I mean, you got to go find it. That's the guy I would really like to have. But I'll take this one. BJ Mack from Wofford. Got my seal of approval if that's a guy that they can go get. So we'll see if he takes a visit down here and if LSU's able to reel him in. This is going to be pretty fast and furious. And quite frankly, I mean, Nick, we always used to make fun of Nick Saban for this and Urban Meyer to an extent, saying, oh, it's such a disadvantage to play in this national championship game because we're missing out on recruiting time. And when that point when recruiting signing day was at the 1st of February and you were playing until February 13th and everybody else had been off for 2 weeks and was recruiting, you could make that case. A lot of teams are preparing for NCAA tournament games right now and not necessarily worried about hosting BJ Mack on a visit. LSU's got some time on their hands right now. So hopefully they use it to the best of their ability. This would be a guy that I would certainly take. So we'll keep you posted as things materialize in the transfer portal. Glenn West of Go247 going to join us very soon. Coming up here after this timeout, I'm going to preview LSU and UNO from the box tonight. Should be a chilly one out there at the box tonight. Some SEC baseball news as far as scheduling goes. Sharif Ishak in the second hour as well. So don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This March, protect yourself against upsets with the Bracket Parlay Insurance on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, all customers can get up to $25 back each day if your parlay of 3 legs or more falls 1 leg short. With a parlay, you can turn your small bet into a slam dunk. And with Cash Out, you're calling the shots. You can close out your bet whenever you want before the game is over. Just sign in with your FanDuel account and go to FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com/1045ESPN. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max bonus bet $25 per day unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. We'll preview LSU UNO from the box and the latest on the Saints NFL free agency moves. Join us for Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hope your Tuesday is going well. Chili went out there in Baton Rouge. Moving right along here on the Hunt Palmer Show. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. It's Tuesday. It's 1:30. That means it's time to head to the Jim's Firearms Hotline for Glenn West of Go247. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you?
Doing good. How busy do you think the next month is going to be in terms of roster turnovers and management for LSU basketball?
Yeah, very busy. I think it's going to be one of those situations where, I think you hope you can hold on to as many of the current freshmen as possible between Tyrell Ward and Jalen Reed, Sean Phillips. Hopefully you can get all three of those guys back. I think there are a couple veterans that certainly you could use back as well. Derek Fountain's a name that comes to mind. Matt McMahon spoke glowingly about him throughout the season, but I think this is going to be a situation where you've got to hit the portal hard. You've got to figure out some length and some size really across the board. You need to add in all those departments and certainly some shooting, some shot creation, rim protecting. I mean, all that kind of stuff is going to be kind of the goal, I think, in the transfer portal. And they're already out there speaking to a couple of players. So we'll see what transpires. But certainly I don't think you can be in a position where you run it back with most of the same group, considering the season you just went through.
2-16 is 2-16. I think you can pretty much leave it at that. Let's transition over to baseball. Tigers finally get through these non-conference weekends against teams that, quite frankly, they don't need to be playing because they're not all that competitive. What's been the most impressive thing to you, specifically last weekend against Samford?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about it this week. Is that they need the bump in competition. I think we've seen that they can handle these opponents that they're expected to beat. I think that bodes well for you come regional time and certainly come the early part of the SEC tournament as well. But yeah, I mean, I think you kind of have to really tip your cap to the pitching staff. I mean, they've only given up 9 runs in the last 9 games, and that's regardless of competition, that's really hard to do, to have that kind of sustained success as a staff. That's been super, super impressive. Obviously, the offensive numbers have really leaped over the last couple weeks as well. Dylan Cruz is Dylan Cruz. He's going to be probably the top pick next, and coming up in the next several months. But really, the emergence of the freshmen, I think Paxton Kling, Jared Jones, to really be able to rely on those guys heavily come SEC play. Brady Neal, you can throw him in there as well. I think the fact that they've learned that those guys are ready to play and play right away and give you really good production, that's been a huge kind of development for the program.
What if I came to you and I said, look, they played a bunch of teams that stink. They played Iowa, who had a good pitcher, and they couldn't hit him. And then they played Texas, who had a good pitcher, and they couldn't hit him either. They're just playing bad teams.
Yeah, I think that their approach really hasn't changed this season. I really like what they've done at the plate overall. They're not a very high strikeout team. They've had that, the lapses there in a couple of those games where they had high strikeout numbers, but they've really worked to improve that over the last couple of weeks. I think they're taking a much better at bats. Some of the pitchers they faced this last weekend were throwing 93, 94. They just weren't very consistent. And so, I do think that there's probably an element to that where, you're really not going to see what this offense is about until you get to SEC play. But I also think they've made real strides there in the last couple of weeks, and a lot of those players are really starting to hit their stride at the right time.
I don't know about you, but I thought catcher would have a rotation. I thought second base would have a rotation. I thought left field and potentially right field would have a rotation. And now you kind of look up and maybe there's one spot and then DH open. I mean, is that kind of how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think at full strength, this group, right now, I think you've got Gavin Dugas pretty solidly penciled in at second. Brady Neal pretty solidly in at catcher. I would say Paxton Kling in right field is a pretty solid bet to get, the majority of starting opportunities moving forward. And that leaves you with kind of left field and certainly the DH spot. And I think that now that Tommy White's back from injury, it really opens things up for Jay in terms of who he wants to play out there, which bat is hot. Cade Beloso's a guy, when he's had his opportunities, has been really good at the plate. Certainly Jared Jones is a guy you can't take out of the lineup anytime soon. Braden Jobert's had his moments, but there are a lot of guys, a lot of options I think that Coach Johnson feels like can be really serviceable in left field and certainly at the DH spot as well. So you're going to, I think, be in a situation where you can, design your lineup to matchups and really see how it plays out from there.
Glenn West, senior writer over at Go247 Sports, with us each and every Tuesday talking Tigers. There were 10 pitchers that I think could have an impact on this team that were not able to throw over the weekend because of the run rules, because you lost 6 innings of baseball. How do you think that these run rules are impacting bullpen development and role defining?
It's been one of, I think, kind of the low-key pet peeves of Coach Johnson the last couple of weeks. Is they haven't been able to get a bunch of guys out there that they think are really going to be serviceable for them in SEC play. I mean, Chase Shores didn't pitch at all this weekend. Griffin Herring. There's a lot of other guys. I mean, you just mentioned 10, of them. But yeah, I think that's an issue. I think that a lot of these guys are kind of going into the conference play. I wouldn't say rusty, but just not a lot of on-field pitching experience. So it's going to be kind of tough, I think, for maybe the early couple weeks of seeing what this staff is going to be like and how they mix and match their pitchers on a given weekend. But it's also a really good problem to have because you can only really use 7 guys this last weekend. They all pitched great, and so I think you have a core there of guys that you feel like you're really comfortable with, and now it's about figuring out which ones behind them are going to be able to really be serviceable for you come SEC play.
How do you think Jay handles the midweeks moving forward? Do you think he throws a Chase Shores or a Christian Little out there and says, hey, give me 4, 5, 6 innings? Or do you think he says, hey, I got a lot of guys that need work. Everybody's getting 1 or 2?
I think you got to approach it like the second way. I think Chase Shores, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one that starts today. I think you could certainly see a situation where he goes, 2, maybe 3 innings max. And then you give guys, a bunch of guys a bunch of innings. Garrett Edwards, Will Helmers, Griffin Herring. I think there are a lot of guys. Christian Little certainly. There are a lot of guys who didn't get to pitch this last weekend who are going to be counted on in this A&M series and certainly in the SEC play moving forward. You just got to get out on the mound. You got to give them those, on the field reps. So it's going to be interesting, but I think you've got to use those midweek opportunities to get a bunch of guys out there for the weekend.
Let's work some hypotheticals. Probably a fool's errand, but we're going to play. Friday night, Skeens goes out there. He's gotten 1 out in the 7th inning. He's thrown 119 pitches, and LSU leads 2-0 with a runner on first base. So you got a 2-run lead in the 7th. He's got to come out. How does Jay handle the last 7 outs?
Yeah, it's a good predicament to be in because I do think that there are a lot of guys you can go to. I mean, I would have a really tough time not going with Christian Little to try to see if he can't get you those last 7 outs. I think he's proven to be your most reliable bullpen option. Certainly, I think if you're using him and hoping that he can get those last 7 outs for you, you're hoping he might be able to be available again on a Sunday kind of deal. But Christian Little's the first guy that I'm going to in a tight game that you really have to win.
All right, let's keep it going. If you've used Little and he's burned because you just used him for 7 outs and he's not going to pitch on Saturday, and I'll tell you that Ty Floyd and Riley Cooper got you through 7 innings on Saturday and you have a 1-run lead. How do you get in the last 6 outs now that you have no Cooper and no Little?
I think I'll probably go Nate Ackenhausen, certainly, to get you 3 outs at least. I think he's a guy that can get you a couple innings, but let's just play it safe and say, there's 3 outs there for him. And then, I think, a good option for them as a potential closer would be the freshman Shores. Now, I know you gotta really trust him to get in that situation and get the out, but he is. They haven't really trusted him to go more than 1 time through the rotation, but when he's gone through the rotation, he's been really good, and he's got it shoves 99, 100 miles an hour. If he can get the command and consistency down, I think he's a guy that you can absolutely rely on to close the game out and get you a win.
See if he could kind of mold himself into that Zach Hess of 202017. He was a freshman, kind of found his spot there. And then the last name I want to throw in, because I don't disagree with anything that you've said fully. I think we're kind of messing around here playing a game. But is Garrett Edwards, is he a guy that you think they would count on late in the game?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And they didn't get a chance to use him in the 7th inning because they scored 9 runs on Sunday, but he was in the bullpen warming up to go out there to finish the game off. So, yeah, I think absolutely he's a guy you can throw in on Saturday and then again on Sunday, depending on how many pitches he gets. But, yeah, I mean, Edwards, I think, has proven in his debut performances so far this year to be a really reliable piece for this staff and a guy that they're going to use a lot moving forward.
What's the outcome in College Station this weekend, you think?
I think they get 2 out of 3. I think they win the first series. Look, A&M, I think, is a really good team. I think they're top 10 or top 15 right now in the country for a reason. And, to go on the road and I think to get a series win would be a big, big deal for LSU, who hasn't really faced a ton of stiff competition. So to get 2 out of 3, I think, would be a win.
You want to throw me an SEC prediction over 30 games?
Oh, man. I'm going to go 20. I think they can get to 20. I think that's a pretty comfortable prediction.
I will give mine on Thursday. But that's what I gave. I gave 20 out in early February before I had seen anything and seen anybody else in the league. I was at 20. I'll give the rest of mine on Thursday for a tease for the folks. But Glenn, we appreciate the time. We'll do it again next week.
All right, Hunt. Thanks, man.
He is Glenn West. Go 247 for all your recruiting and team coverage of the Tigers. When we come back, some news out of Lake Charles over the last hour that I find a little bit interesting and a little bit puzzling. I'll tell you what that is next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. You can go to that website, onebathandclosets.com. Check out the testimonials from David Duvall's clients. Check out the pictures of the work that his team does and set up a free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything. Onebathandclosets.com is the website. It could give you your dream bathroom, a full-scale bathroom renovation. Floor, plumbing, shower, bathtub, the whole deal. Or maybe it's just a tub-to-shower conversion, something quick, painless. Could set up your dream bathroom, change the look and the feel of your bathroom. On the closet side, maybe your closet's just got so much clutter, too much stuff, you don't know what to do with it. Let David Duvall and his team come in and customize a closet for you. If you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, they're not going to charge you for the rip out of your current closet. They're not going to charge you for the installation and the labor of the new one. They're just going to charge you for the cost of that unit. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years.
Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson. That's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So, news out of Lake Charles just about an hour ago. McNeese announced that they are suspending Will Wade for the first 5 games of the 2023-2024 season. And my question would be, why? Why? Now, I could try to connect some dots here and say that McNeese is thinking, okay, we understand there is still an open investigation into Will Wade and the LSU basketball program and any improprieties that may have happened while he was there. And we understand that that's ongoing, but we're hiring Will Wade. And theoretically, Will Wade could face sanctions that force him to face punishment. And at that point, we need to be proactive about this and self-impose a 5-game suspension. I'm just guessing here. But to me, that would make absolutely 0 sense. None. 0. If you are Kansas and you're under investigation and you self-impose a postseason ban on a team that goes 27-6, that's a real punishment that the NCAA can then take into account as they dole their punishment out. If you're LSU football and you dock yourself 6 scholarships over 2 years, they can look at that and say, okay, they've started the process. McNeese basketball games in November, there is no consequence to those games. The Southland Conference has been a 1-bid lead for approximately 966 years in a row. Not a single game that McNeese plays until the first week of March matters at all to anyone. So you can't sit here as McNeese and say, hey, NCAA, don't do anything here. We've got the first 5 games covered. Just turn your head. There's not anyone in an NCAA decision-making room that would ever, under any circumstance, look at McNeese suspending Will Wade for 5 games against Texas, Rice, Centenary College, ULM, and Texas Southern and go, oh, well, we were gonna slap that show cause on him, but he's missing all those games around Thanksgiving, so that's good. Okay, go ahead. That's impossible. All you're doing at McNeese is drawing negative attention to yourself for no reason. Literally no reason. I cannot imagine, unless something came out in the last 12 hours that forced them to do this, that anyone could sit in a room in Lake Charles and determine, we'll hire him and we'll just suspend him for the first 5 games. They'll take it easy. It makes no sense whatsoever. You have to, as you self-impose things, make the effort to hurt yourself in some way. This doesn't. I guess the only other option in this web that I'm trying to weave as I determine why it is that McNeese would suspend Will Wade for 5 games, they're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. We're pretty sure he broke the rules at LSU. We do want him to be our head coach for the 2 years that he's here before he takes a bigger job. But we're gonna stand our ground and say, you know what? I think for 5 games we can sit. That's nothing to do with the NCAA. We just think it's the right thing to do. Even that's so stupid when I say it out loud, I can't believe it. Of course, you got Pat 40 piling on, says hired on a Monday, suspended on a Tuesday. Great work, McNeese. Dan Walken, LMFAO. You're just getting people to laugh at you now. You've done a great thing. Hiring Will Wade's a great thing for McNeese. You bring exposure. You're going to win some basketball games. It's good. Suspending him 23 hours later is stupid. That's what it is. It's stupid. It accomplishes nothing. I don't understand why this is the case. Will Wade's punishment was never going to be 3 games. They were either going to find something, which they've been digging for 5 years, and hammer him, or they were going to find nothing. And based on everything we've seen over the last 2 months, leaning towards option 2 there. So this is just laughable that McNeese would do this. But such is life. Will Wade suspended for the first 5 games of next year. That is dumb. If you missed any of the first hour, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's On Demand tab. All the shows listed there. Click on the Hunt Palmer Show. All the sound uploaded every day. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube. Anywhere you find your audio, you can find us. Talk to Michael Thomas and Jameis Winston and Marcus Davenport in the first segment. Who's LSU targeting the transfer portal for basketball? Segment 2. Glenn West always with us on Tuesdays. Lots to get to in hour number 2. SEC baseball scheduling announcements, and LSU and UNO tonight from the box. I'll give you my preview of that next after Sports Center. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Amid the seemingly endless wait for an Aaron Rodgers decision where he likely asks the Packers to trade him to the Jets or retire, ESPN's Diana Rossini is reporting Rodgers has given the Jets a wish list of free agents he'd like them to target and acquire. That includes 3 Green Bay free agents, receivers Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard, and tight end Mercedes Lewis. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Jets are actively working to reach an agreement with Lazard. Fitz and Harry co-host Harry Douglas.
The only issue that I have with this is that Aaron Rodgers is making these demands like he has won Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. If the New York Jets get these players for Aaron Rodgers, he damn sure better deliver and actually make the Super Bowl and give his team a chance, an opportunity to actually win.
Schefter also reports the Giants acquired star tight end Darren Waller from the Raiders for a third-round pick, another offensive weapon for New York quarterback Daniel Jones. Receiver Michael Thomas, whose release had been anticipated in January, is staying in New Orleans. He agrees on a 1-year deal with the Saints worth $10 million.
We all know the game isn't over till it's over. So next time your car breaks down, don't call it quits. Head to eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts to take your car into overtime. Get the right parts at the right prices. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Tuesday. Tonight from the box, it'll be LSU and UNO. Privateers coming over from the lakefront. LSU's final game before SEC play. If you're looking for something to do this evening, and the box may be a little chilly for your taste, got a place that's going to be warm and fun. Pluckers, sports trivia. We'll fire things up at 8:30, so maybe you go to the game at 6:30. It's a blowout, over by 7:45 as these things have been going. You're looking for some place to stop in post-game, grab something cold to drink, something great to eat. We'll be playing sports trivia. Pluckers on Nicholson at 8:30 tonight. But I want to talk about LSU and UNO. Privateers have a good win-loss record coming in at 11-5. They opened the season at Kennesaw State, who LSU played in the regional last year in Hattiesburg, and lost 2 out of 3 after an opening night win. They lost 12-0 to Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, coincidentally, in their first midweek game. They went to the Andre Dawson Classic, which they hosted at Maestri Field, and they played Jackson State, Florida A&M, and Alabama State, and took 2 of 3 in that weekend. They went to Tulane and won. Tulane is really fighting it this year. They are just not very good at this point in the season. UNO beat them with a run in the 9th inning, 6-5. They swept Brown out of the Ivy League. Went to South Alabama, got beat 7-10, and then played 4 SWAC games last week against Southern and Mississippi Valley State and won all 3 of those. Saturday was interesting. They won their Saturday game against Mississippi Valley State 35-3. 35 runs in a 7-inning game. UNO scored 6 in the first, 4 in the second, 16 in the third inning. I guess they kind of wasted all their bullets there in the third because they didn't score in the fourth. Tough. But they came back with 6 in the fifth and 3 in the sixth to win it 35-3. Impressive that they scored 35 runs and Mississippi Valley State only made 1 error in the game. However, I don't think they're going to score 35 tonight. In fact, they may not score very much at all. No word yet, as far as I know. Someone in Bayou Ford Chat can let me know on who LSU will pitch tonight. I think the 2 most likely options as starting pitchers would be Chase Shores and Christian Little. We did not see either one of them over the weekend. Little, of course, started the game in the last midweek against Lamar and got stretched out a little bit. I don't hate that. However, I think Christian Little is going to be a high-leverage bullpen guy this weekend in College Station. Now, he can throw 30 pitches tonight and have no problem bouncing back on Friday against Texas A&M. It is Tuesday. You'd have Wednesday and Thursday off, and then you play a night game on Friday. So basically 3 days rest. And you could go with Shores, who has been pitching on Sundays and did not get a chance to pitch this weekend because they've kind of set their weekend rotation up as Skeens and Floyd and Hurd. So those are your two options. I have this thought. To me, Christian Little is a big-time bullpen arm on this team. I don't need him throwing much on the midweek unless it's a high-leverage situation at the end of the game and you're trying to win it. I would like to see Chase Shores continue to go 3 and 4 innings all year. I don't think it's necessary to have a midweek starter who consistently goes through 6 innings. But I do think there is absolute value in having Chase Shores or whoever you may pick. I think Chase Shores is the best option in him going 3 innings and 65-plus pitches every midweek. That gives you an opportunity to pitch him in the SEC tournament. That gives you an opportunity to have him ready if you need him to start a regional game, whether you got to play 2 on Sunday or 1 on Monday. And that gives you an opportunity to use him in Omaha if it gets dire and you've got to play a bunch of games over the course of a week out of the loser's bracket. I've said this a bunch over the last month and a half, and LSU really hasn't been in that situation very much. If regional have gone to Monday in the Maneri era or last year, you've had to kind of piece it together. And that's the way most teams are going to have to do it. Most teams are not going to have 4 qualified starters. This staff is deep enough to give that a chance. Maybe he can't do it. Maybe you consistently put him out there in the midweek. I'm talking about Shores, and he keeps getting hit immediately on the second time through the lineup in the 3rd inning, and you realize this is not really working and we got to piece these games together. But I would like to give it a shot because Chase Shores is going to be a starting pitcher at LSU at some point, and I'd like to just start it now and then have it as a bullet in the bullpen late in the season if things get out. It's just hard, in my opinion, to go into a must-win game, whether it's Monday of a regional or in a super, you got a weekend series. You should have your 3 guys. But you could get to Omaha, and because of rest, you got to get another guy a start. And it's just hard to ask 6 pitchers to go out there and all have their good stuff and get you through 9 innings. I'd rather my first guy be able to give me 4 innings because he's been doing it all year. And this is not a forced type of deal. This is not an under-talented guy who's not ready to pitch on the weekend rotation and can't really help you out of the bullpen, and you're just sticking him here in the midweek because, well, that's the next guy in line. No, it's not. He's real talented, among the most talented pitchers on the staff. Let's continue to develop that. That's what I would do in the midweek if I were Jay Johnson. If he wants to throw 7 guys tonight because nobody pitched over the weekend, I can't blame him for that as you get ready to go to College Station. If you don't want to go to College Station with Christian Little and Chase Shores, I mean, I ran through all the names yesterday of guys who did not pitch, and it's an extensive list. It's 10 guys that didn't get a chance to pitch. Bryce Collins didn't get a chance to pitch. Will Helmers didn't get a chance to pitch. Garrett Edwards didn't get a chance to pitch. Griffin Herring didn't get a chance to pitch. The list goes and goes. So I would be fine if he did that this week because they got to get ready to go to College Station and have a huge weekend ahead. But me thinking long term, I'm thinking let's continue to stretch a guy out. And I would give Chase Shores the baseball tonight. I would tell him that you're going to throw 75 pitches in this game if you throw it well, and that's our plan. And then after that, we'll get the rest of the guys in there for an inning or 2/3 of an inning at a time and get guys some work. The bats should allow them to do that. UNO does not have a good pitching staff, and LSU should score a lot of runs tonight. It's going to be cold. Wind's coming out of the north. It's going to be a difficult night to hit, but it shouldn't matter too much to these LSU bats. And like I was talking with Glenn West about when we had him on at 1:30, it's like we came in thinking there was going to be a lot of positions that could platoon. Milazzo Neal at catcher, Dugas, Bearfield, Napolt at second, Guidry. In the outfield, you had Pearson, you had Kling, you had Stevenson, you had potentially Dugas, you had Jobert. You had a lot of guys you were trying to get some at-bats, and it's now kind of settling. Neal's catching. Dugas is playing second. Kling's taking an outfield spot. So Jobert and Stevenson and Pearson, you're battling kind of for one spot. And I don't know who UNO's pitching tonight, and I don't really think it matters. But I would like to see multiple at-bats throughout the course of a week for Josh Pearson. Josh Pearson has not really hit the baseball since Hattiesburg. He was such a key piece to LSU and what they were doing at the end of last year. Led off a bunch, got some huge hits. He was massive. And he didn't hit great in the summer and hadn't hit in the fall and hadn't hit so far this year. But I want to continue to give him some at-bats. I'm not saying take a bunch of at-bats from Joe Bear or Jared Jones. I'm not saying that. But when you've got a spot, whether it's to start this game or whether it's you're up 5-0 in the third of this game, I'd like to see Pearson get a chance because I just don't want to bury a talented bat like that for a season. There are some guys who you can look at this lineup and look at this roster and look at what's going on for a month and say, yeah, I don't know how much he's going to factor in. And you could say that about Pearson. I just don't want to resign myself to that just yet. I'd like to see him get some chances in the midweek. I'm not telling you he needs to be out there against A&M's Friday guy. Detmer's pretty good. But I'd like to see it from time to time. There's not a ton to look at in some of these midweek games. Pitching is a big one tonight because of the situation they were put in over the weekend, not being able to get guys innings. And for me, offensively, you've got basically 8 guys who have to play. And if you would count Joe Bear as a guy who has to play, that's basically 9, and you're set. I'm not quite ready to go there just yet. But we'll see. Tigers and UNO tonight at 6:30. You can catch it on Eagle 98.1. Pregame's at 6. It'll be Chris Blair and Doug Thompson. And we'll be recapping it tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing the guys out there at the box. If you can't make it, head over to Pluckers tonight. Catch sports and trivia with us. Speaking of SEC baseball, we know there's a lot made of SEC football scheduling once Texas and Oklahoma join the league. What does it mean for the baseball schedule? I'll tell you what and what I'd like to see happen for LSU next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This March, protect yourself against upsets with Bracket Parlay Insurance on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, all customers can get up to $25 back each day if your parlay of 3 legs or more falls just 1 leg short. With a parlay, you can turn a small bet into a slam dunk, and with cash out, you're calling the shots. You can close out your bet whenever you want before the game is over. Just sign into your FanDuel Sportsbook account or go to FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com//1045ESPN. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Bonus issued non-withdrawable bonus. Method expires 7 days after receipt. Max bonus bet $25 per day unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care.
For live play-by-play the 2023 Men's NCAA Basketball Tournament. Thursday at 8 p.m., Friday at 6 p.m., Saturday at noon, and Sunday at 11 a.m. on your home for the 2023 Final Four. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
SEC baseball news trickling out today. May have missed this. We understand that for football, they had to go to the 3 permanent opponents and figure out how to do it with the 9 games. And they had to change some things once Texas and Oklahoma come into the league. And so that same concept applies to all sports, including baseball. And the word is, according to Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball, the SEC is going to go to 2 permanent opponents and 8 rotating opponents every year. So still 10 series, but just 2 that are fixed, and you're going to rotate the other 8. So at that point, obviously, you play 10 weekends. There's 16 teams in the league. That's 15 possible opponents. You're going to skip 5. It's just going to be rotating, just like right now. You've got your permanents in the West, you play 6 teams, and then you play 4 out of the other side, and you miss 3. LSU this year is not playing Florida. They're not playing Vanderbilt. They're not playing Missouri. So not a huge change there, other than, okay, you're only going to get 2 opponents every year. And I feel, y'all have heard me. Y'all know the way I think. If you ask me what 3 permanent football opponents do you want, I'll tell you I want Vanderbilt, I want Missouri, and I want Mississippi State. Give me wins. It's football. You lose a game, it's a big deal. I don't feel quite the same in basketball and baseball. In baseball, 1, LSU is an elite level program that ought to be able to compete every year with just about anybody you put out there. And 2, tougher schedule is a good thing. You might take some losses here or there. You might have a bad 3 weeks. But as long as you beat some good teams, hold your own, you're basically not filling your schedule with landmines. You're filling your schedule with opportunities to get big wins. Big wins are important, more important than your loss here or there. In football, you lose 2 or 3 games, see you later. I don't want to deal with that. So I think opposite with basketball and baseball. You win a few big games, all right, give you a shot. So when I think about who LSU's 2 permanent opponents would be, my mind immediately pivots to the Magnolia State, and it wouldn't surprise me or bother me at all if Ole Miss and Mississippi State were LSU's 2 permanent opponents. We know what the LSU-Mississippi State rivalry was in the 80s, Ron Polk and Skip Bertman. We know the environment that exists when LSU plays Ole Miss. I love going to Duty Noble and Starkville. I love going to Swayze and Oxford. Spent weekends at both. Think it's awesome. They're easy to get to. It's a fun weekend. And the programs are pretty good. I also obviously geographically would look to Texas A&M. And I would look based on recent history, the level of the programs. LSU and Arkansas would make a lot of sense. I don't care about Alabama. Don't care about Auburn. Never cared about anybody in the East. So I think that group of 4 is your most likely. And it wouldn't bother me, like I said, if LSU, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss were permanents. Doesn't really matter. This is not a big deal. Now, the other issue that they're talking about in terms of SEC scheduling is the SEC tournament and how they handle that when you add 2 more teams to the conference. And I just don't see any way that you're going to be able to expand the tournament in terms of the number of teams you invite to Hoover. The only way you would do that is if you made it single elimination. And I guess you technically could. You could do it like the basketball tournament. And you could invite all 16 teams and tell them all to play Tuesday. And then you'd have 8 left. And you tell them to play Wednesday. And you'd have 4 left. And tell them to play Thursday. And you'd have 2 left. And you could play single elimination, I guess. Not really in the spirit of baseball. But I think the more likely thing is they basically keep the format and allow more teams a chance to play. And you just leave more teams out. You know, the reason they went to 12 teams is because LSU, back in 2011, just missed the conference tournament. They missed it by 1 game. The RPI was in the 20s. But because they didn't get invited to the SEC tournament, St. John's got in. It was the first thing I ever did on the beat for Bayou Bengals Insider in June of 2011. It was my first assignment, go to signing day at the box. And LSU was 13 and 17 in the league, did not get invited to Hoover, and they got left out. Only 8 teams made it in. Incidentally, I was looking at the conference standings from that year. Nobody in the West was over 500 in the league. Arkansas won the SEC West at 15 and 15, and they were the 2 seed in the conference tournament. That's because South Carolina went 22 and 8, Florida went 22 and 8, and Vanderbilt went 22 and 8. 3 teams from the East went 22 and 8 that year. But LSU got left out. So they said, okay, well, we're just going to expand the tournament and give our teams a chance to play. So they expanded it to 12, and now just about everybody gets in, and some teams are playing for their lives when they get there, but more teams get in and have the opportunity to play. That's why we have the single elimination on Tuesday and double elimination on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then single elimination on Saturday and single elimination on Sunday. The whole thing is crazy, but it's just to allow more teams to get in. I think you go ahead and stop at 12 because, look, last year, the 2 teams that missed the tournament who got 13th and 14th in the league were Missouri at 10 and 20 in the league and Mississippi State at 9 and 21 in the league. Those teams weren't getting in the NCAA tournament anyway. In fact, 3 teams that qualified for the tournament last year, Bama, 12 and 17 in the league, Kentucky, 12 and 18 in the league, South Carolina, 13 and 17 in the league, didn't get in the NCAA tournament last year. So we've solved that problem. Everybody who's got a chance to make the NCAA tournament is getting a ride to Hoover. And that still remains if you bring in Texas and Oklahoma. So I think the SEC baseball tournament is going to be kept the same. You're just going to have 4 teams at home instead of 2. And you still keep the crazy format. What they are going to do is eliminate divisions, which is fine. Just rotate the 8 rotating. You'll miss 4 teams every year. Whatever. Miss 5 teams every year. Whatever. It's baseball. It's not football. Just go play your 30 games and let the dice fall where they may. So that's your look at SEC baseball scheduling in the future. Do want to talk about Mississippi State and Pittsburgh tonight. They'll play in Dayton. Should be an interesting contrast in styles between these two teams. Mississippi State, we know, is in the top 10 in the country in defensive efficiency. They're number 8 in that stat. They do a great job of pushing you out, slowing you down. Tolu Smith's a great shot blocker. They're a really good defensive team. Pitt has been very good on offense. They're 23rd in the country in offensive efficiency. So that's kind of where you see who can impose their will. And I think more often than not, Mississippi State is able to create the speed they want under Chris Jans. It's very rare they get into some sort of track meet. Now, if Pitt can do that, they'll win the game. But I think that Mississippi State will slow the game down. I think it'll be close. Vegas has State about a 2-point favorite. Tolu Smith's matchup down on the block is Federico, center, who's actually from Finland, who plays for Pitt, 6'11", 220. I've never liked the Dayton play-in games. I just would rather the field of 64 and call it what it is. I'm a little averse to change at times. I realize this lets more teams in. It creates a more robust bubble, creates the drama that is in Dayton. Dayton does a really good job with it. A lot of TV ratings come with it. They're never going to get rid of it. In fact, they're going to expand the tournament. But it's not my favorite. But tonight, I do think that Mississippi State will win the game. They've been okay of late. Pitt's got a good team. But I like styles in the NCAA tournament. And I think it's easier to slow a game down than it is to get it ramped up and cooking. I think Pitt would rather that. I don't think Mississippi State's going to allow it. So I'll take State playing some really good defense, maybe some shaky early shooting from Pitt. It's the most pressure-packed game you've played in all year. You're in an unfamiliar gym. There's a really good defensive team playing. Maybe they get off to a really slow start. I like Mississippi State to win the game tonight. So give me the dogs. I guess I'll lay the points as it were. All right. Still plenty to get to. We're going to play some Take It or Leave It coming up a little bit later. But the Saints have been doing a lot of stuff. They've got a new quarterback. They've now got their star wide receiver coming back. They don't have any defensive linemen left. And what's going on with the Pels? We'll head down to New Orleans, chat with our guy, Sharif Ishak from WDSU, right after this on The Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana each and every day here on the Hunt Palmer Show. And in March, we're telling you about Trey Godfrey. Trey has dedicated his entire career to bettering Baton Rouge. He's currently the Senior Vice President for Policy in the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. And at BRAC, he oversees education policy, among many other things. And that allows him to make an impact from a more systemic perspective. Trey believes that Louisiana will reach its full potential when we all understand that we have to work together to lift one another, and he works each day to bring that vision closer to reality. Trey Godfrey is our champion of Louisiana in March. If you know a champion like Trey, go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions, and nominate a person, a nonprofit, or a business that's doing great philanthropic work in our state, helping our state to thrive like Trey Godfrey is. Trey Godfrey is March's champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 104.5 ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside off the bench anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 104.5 ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
The best kept secret.
Join us for a Wednesday edition of Off the Bench as we recap Pelicans versus Lakers, look ahead to the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and a new edition of Would You Rather Wednesday. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's head on down to the 504. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, with us every Tuesday. He joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, you getting a pump in?
Yeah, I am getting a pump in. I'm done now. I timed it out perfectly just for you, Hunt.
I really appreciate that, Sharif. It means the world to me. All right, let's talk Saints first before we get to the Pels. We have a big one tonight inside the blender. Michael Thomas coming back. You surprised?
No, not at all. I mean, once Derek Carr said what he said on Saturday during his intro press conference, the great conversation they had, and how, intense Mike Thomas is, and how much he wants to play, and how much the game meant to him, and how he wanted to play with Derek Carr, I felt like, that was just a writing on the wall that Michael Thomas was coming back. And I like the contract, Hunt. I really do. 1 year, $10 million, with a chance to go to $15 million. He was never coming back on the $31 million roster bonus that he was going to get. That was not happening.
What do you expect from Michael Thomas, and what's realistic?
Look, if you could get him 10 to 13 games, that would be great. You're never going to get the 2019 Offensive Player of the Year, Michael Thomas, unless I'm completely wrong, which I have been a lot on your show. But his body has broken down quite a few times since that season. Just a healthy Michael Thomas would be fine. Someone who can make some contested catches, because that's what the team has desperately missed the last few seasons, is somebody who can go get a ball in the tight spot. And that's just something this offense is going to desperately need. And I don't think that that solves their issues with Mike coming back, because I still think they're going to need another receiver, specifically someone in the slot.
On offense, obviously running back is something they're going to have to address here in the draft, probably and free agency. But what about Andrews Pete is the other question I have.
Talk about someone who's injured often.
Yeah.
It's so hard, man. It's so hard to wonder if he can stay healthy for 10 games a season now. I mean, he just constantly goes down. But when he plays, Hunt, he plays at a very high level. He is very good. As bad as he was the first few years, he's gotten a little bit better, especially in the last couple of years. He just can't stay healthy. As of right now, my gut tells me that they're going to keep him on a team. I mean, and he's a Pro Bowler. I just don't know. What are they going to do? I mean, just cut him and take a big cap hit. And kick more money down the road. I just think that they keep him right now. And that's just my gut feeling unless something happens in the next 24 hours. I just think he stays. But they can certainly address that in another position in the draft.
I didn't notice you personally stepping to the front of the line and offering to pay Marcus Davenport $13 million for 1 year. Why didn't you want to do that?
Because the joke's on Minnesota. Pays for a half a sack. I mean, look, man, when he was decent, when he was playing, he was decent. Like in those first, he was so good in those first couple years, and then boom, and then he hit a wall, and it was just like, man, what is going on here? The Saints spent 2 first-round picks on a guy that they could have, gotten in the second round, and instead they could have gotten Lamar Jackson without even moving in that draft. And $13 million, listen, money not well spent by the Minnesota Vikings unless he decides to just go, all right, well, I'm not a Saint anymore. I'm going to play 17 games and have 15 sacks this year. I mean, we've seen that in pre-2000 Saints era where everyone would become better once they left the Saints. But for him, he just can't stay healthy. And when he does play, he just wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, there was no production there. And I don't think there's any Saints fan that are crying as he walks out the door. But the other 2 defensive linemen that signed deals inside the division yesterday, which is a bigger loss, David Onyemata, who's headed to Atlanta, or Shai Tuttle, who's headed to Carolina?
Neither.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, neither of them. I just think they were not as productive the last 2 seasons. They fell off, and they need to revamp that defensive line. That's why they weren't paying anybody to stay from the interior defensive line. That's just a spot that they had to go out and fix. It just showed you that they let them walk for a reason, because it just wasn't working in the inside of that defensive line. So neither, in my opinion. I think the biggest loss was Caden Ellis.
Yeah, that was next.
Yeah, but he got paid, and deservingly so. He had a very good season last year. He had 7 sacks, he had 11 starts. He really made a name for himself last season. He was moving sideline to sideline really well last year, and you can't stop that from happening. I mean, the Saints can't afford that. They were never going to pay Caden Ellis the money that the Falcons gave him, and they're all going to Ryan Nielsen. They want to go play for Ryan Nielsen. They liked Ryan Nielsen when he was here with the Saints. So, I would say he's a bigger loss, but only because I say that because they need some depth at that position. They really only played 2 linebackers for most of the season. Now, does that change with Joe Woods playing as a defensive coordinator, or is Dennis Allen going to keep his defense in place? Because he's got pretty much an entire new defense with the exception of linebacker coach Michael Hodges. So it's going to be interesting, but they definitely need to go get some depth in that middle of that defense in a very bad way.
When you look at some of the big swings that they've taken at defensive line, especially in the draft over the last 5-6 years, should Saints fans be concerned about the talent evaluation at that spot as they try to refill it with the draft and free agency?
Sure. I mean, specifically in the draft, I think they have, it's fair to be concerned because they are going to have to draft some defensive linemen, defensive tackle in this upcoming draft with their picks if they don't address it in free agency. I still think they need to draft a defensive tackle, maybe a couple in the draft. But yeah, in the draft wise, I would be a little worried. I would be a little worried about trying to think who my guys are going to draft because it hasn't been good. Peyton Turner, Marcus Davenport, it's been a swing and a miss with those 2 guys. Sheldon Rankins, he was good, and maybe he's one of the guys they try to bring back on a cheap deal because man, look, they only got 4 defensive linemen on that roster right now, and none of them have a DT next to their name.
Yeah, they got work to do there. There's no question about it. But as I said in my open, they weren't good on the defensive line last year, so it needs some overhaul. They just got to figure out which way to do it. Sharif Ishak from WDSU is our guest here each and every Tuesday. All right, big one in the blender tonight. Before we get to kind of matchups and what this game actually means, your thoughts on the Pels over the last week? Obviously, a big one from Trey Murphy.
Roller coaster ride for sure. They played well against the Mavericks. I know they were coming off a back-to-back. Luka wasn't nearly 100%, but that's what you're supposed to do to a team that's coming off a back-to-back. And, I would give them credit, give Herb Jones credit for the job he did on Luka, and then they come back and have 22 turnovers and get blown out by the Thunder.
Yep.
And then the next night, Trey Murphy has a career night. I say this every time on Twitter, I need Trey Murphy to shoot 9 to 11 threes a game. Shooters got to shoot, and he's a guy who could shoot the ball. You got to give him some shots in order for him to be productive. It can't be 6 shots and him go 0 for 6 from the field. He's got to have at least at 9 to 11 attempts from downtown. That is just my opinion. I think he played really well the other night, and I've said it all year. He's one of the guys that I need to continue. He's stepping up. He's got to be the one from outside. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster hunt. I mean, since January 2nd, since the injury to Zion, it's been a complete roller coaster.
The ones against the Lakers feel like they're worth 2 or 3 because of the playoff situation and the draft situation with the trade and all that. Is that what it feels like tonight?
It shouldn't, but yes, it does. The Pelicans shouldn't be this far down in the Western Conference. But yeah, it's the 2 to 3 game swing here for multiple reasons. To jump them, you're going to tie them in terms of the conference. I mean, the head-to-head this year, plus the Western Conference record, Eastern Conference record. So yeah, I would say right now, this is going to be their biggest game left in the season. This is truly their biggest game left in the season. Not just for 3. I think it's for a million reasons. The hate that they have for the Lakers and everything that's going on. I think that this is a game they have to win. There are no excuses. They have to win this game. And if they can win this game, Hunt, look ahead. 2 games against Houston, San Antonio, and then the Hornets. You would think that they can win those 4 games. Think you could win all 4 of those games. But, those teams have actually been playing a little bit better down the stretch. So we shall see. But they got to win tonight.
I can't claim to have watched the Lakers very closely over the last few weeks since LeBron's gone down. But the stat sheet just tells me that AD is kind of taking it upon himself. What do you expect from the Lakers tonight?
This is what I said that they should have done the last time they faced the Lakers. He does not like anyone who's physical. Let JB go at Anthony Davis. Try to get him in foul trouble. Be physical with Anthony Davis. That is the key to taking care of the inside with the Lakers. You've got to go at him. He does not like anything like that. Go inside with JV. And CJ and Trey are going to have some big games again. Brandon Ingram is questionable. When you see questionable, that means the person's usually not going to play.
Right.
So you're going to have to have essentially the same type of performance that you had against the Blazers, except against the Lakers team, who I think is playing some of the better basketball right now in the Western Conference.
Does the blender still go nuts every time Anthony Davis shows up?
Yes. It rains booze more for him than any person I have ever seen that wore a uniform in this city.
Interesting. Who do you got tonight, Lakers or Pels?
I hate to go the win-loss thing, but you know what? I'm going to put my trust in the Pelicans tonight. That they actually figure this out and they know how to play against the Lakers this time around. As long as they can keep D'Angelo Russell at bay and go at Anthony Davis inside with JV, I think they should win this game.
All right. He is Sharif Ishak, WDSU. We'll do it again next week. Sharif, thanks.
Anytime, man.
Lakers and Pels tonight. It's going to be a big one. If BI doesn't play, which, as Sharif said, you basically take the Pelicans injury report and put a multiplication sign by it and throw a number off there. They say somebody's out 2 weeks, make it 6. If somebody's questionable, he's doubtful. It's just everything that comes out of there injury-wise is in the short end. Doesn't sound like he'll play. That puts him behind the 8 ball. Even with LeBron out, it just does. That's just your 2 main ball-handling scoring options just not being available. It's just not a ton you can do. But I don't love their odds tonight. But hopefully they get it done against the Lakers. That would be a big win for them. All right, let's take one more time out. Come back. Got some take it or leave it. And then we'll hand things off to Mr. Moscona. It's on Palmer Show.
This is on Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance with the latest in office technology from desktop.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. We'll preview LSU UNO from the box and the latest on the Saints NFL free agency moves. Join us for Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up shop here on a Tuesday. If you're looking for something to do this evening, head out to the box. Maybe Plucker Sports Trivia tonight, 8:30. First pitch is at 6:30. LSU only plays 7 innings these days, most times, so probably not going to last until 10 o'clock. They get out of there around 8:30. You're at the box, come on by Sports Trivia. If the game's still going on, Pluckers will always have it on over there on the Nicholson location and Bluebonnet, but definitely the Nicholson location, and we'll be there at 8:30. Get you out of there by 10. Always a fun time. Plucker Sports Trivia on Tuesdays. Can't finish the show, though, unless we play some Take It or Leave It.
Yeah, let's do it. Trevor Bauer has signed a 1-year deal to play baseball in Japan. Bauer will return to the MLB soon. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. They have basically blackballed him from returning. I haven't read too much. I know vague details of what's alleged. I know that charges weren't pressed. There's some civil stuff going on. It's a lot, and I think Major League Baseball has made its decision that they're going to move on without Trevor Bauer, and they've instructed the teams to do the same. So he'll have his opportunity here and there. The Cubs had Addison Russell, who was a 100 RBI guy as a rookie in 2016. He was phenomenal, and he got in some domestic stuff and basically was out of the league and is still playing in Korea. So that's the way things go, and that's the decision they've made. I do not think Trevor Bauer will be back.
This morning, the USGA and RNA released a statement declaring they would decrease distance in golf by rolling the golf ball back. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I've not developed a strong enough thought on this. I'm bummed out when guys that can't hit it 345 can't compete. There are really good players that, because of technology and the way that clubs perform and balls perform, they just can't hit it far enough to compete. And I don't think number one among all golf skills should be how far can I wind up and hit it. It's important. It should be rewarded, but it shouldn't be the most important thing. And you've got guys on the tour like, say Kevin Kisner or somebody like that is sensational in other parts of the game, but because distance has become such a massive factor, can't really compete on half the courses they play. That, to me, seems not ideal. So I don't need 8,000-yard golf courses. I don't need 630-yard par 5s. I don't need 225-yard par 3s. I think that making the golf ball fly a shorter distance is probably good for the professional game. And as far as the bifurcation goes, meaning the pros basically play one way and we play the other and we can use the technology, I think that's fine. We don't swing fast enough to make any of this stuff matter. So I think it's fine if the tour guys are not allowed to use some of the stuff that we use. That, to me, is not that big a deal and shouldn't be considered greatly. I think it's cool that when I watch a professional golfer hit a golf shot that doesn't go 370 yards, that physically I can hit that shot. I can hit a 6-iron just as pure as Jordan Spieth. I do it once a quarter, and he does it 13 times a round. But I can do it. I can't do anything LeBron James does. I mean, I guess I can shoot a step-back 3, but I'm not 6'9". I can't fly through the air and jam it. Like, golf brings the amateur closer to the professional, more closer than any other sport does, I think. But I think us going different ways in equipment is fine. So I'll take it in a long way of saying it.
Florida and Utah will open the college football season on Thursday night this year. Take it or leave it.
I will take this for sure.
I'll take it.
I don't want LSU playing on a Thursday night in Tiger Stadium. I don't need that. Let's save those
You'll
for
watch
Saturday.
it if it's somebody else. Yeah.
Right, but I'm all for them playing on a Thursday because that's got me glued to the television set pulling for Utah. So I'm all about that. I will take that for sure. I think they were supposed to announce that today, so I'm all for it. I think that one obviously will be up in Salt Lake. So let's go Utes. What do? They do something like this. I think that's what they do. Utes. Go Utes.
I don't know who put this one in here, but the Dallas Cowboys have brought back safety Donovan Wilson, who was the team's leading tackler this past season. 2023 is Dallas's year. Take it or leave it.
Take it. Super Bowl.
I'll
Dak
take
Prescott.
No, leave it. Leave it. It was
Gotta
a joke.
take it. Dak. Zeke,
No.
What is he, 43? What's his 40
He
time?
plays like he's 43.
An hour and a half?
Yeah, they clock him with a sundial.
I think, look, we got to take it. I like the thought of the Cowboys creating some American drama late in January. It hasn't happened in a very long time, but I mean that'll get the people going. If the Cowboys have a chance, you get Jerry on the microphone, you get that big star. I'm for the drama. I host a sports talk show. The Saints aren't going to make it. The teams everybody hates ought to make it. I'm all for it.
No, just leave it. All right, this one here, wilder than that last one, if you could believe that. Pickleball founder Steve Kuhn says the league will compete with the MLB, MLS, and NHL in terms of viewership. Take it or leave it.
I got to leave this one. I do think pickleball is going to catch on as a big-time recreational sport long-term. You don't have to be super athletic to do it. Tennis, I'm terrible at tennis, but I've played with some people that are even worse than me. If you're really bad at tennis, you can't play because you can't get the ball. And so it makes it more difficult. Pickleball, its difficulty level is less. The ball doesn't move very fast. You don't have to hit it as far. More people can play pickleball. It's a great recreational sport for people to play. It sucks to watch because people don't move very much for the same reason. You want to see great athletes performing things when you talk about viewership in sports. That's why I don't think anyone actually watches curling because that's not very fun to watch. People slide down the ice. Pickleball is guys standing there and tapping it back and forth. That's not compelling. So they won't get squat for viewership, but people are going to play that sport for a long time because a lot of people can play it and it's fun and competitive. So I'm all for that. That's all for Take It or Leave It. Thank you, Taylor Sharp. If you missed any of the show today, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. I open things up talking about what's going on with the New Orleans Saints. Michael Thomas is back. Jameis Winston is back. Marcus Davenport is gone. Caden Ellis is gone. My thoughts on where things stand with the black and gold at the top of the show. LSU, looking in the transfer portal for basketball players. They got to hit it hard. I gave you a name, B.J. Mack from Wofford. Kind of gave you my thoughts on whether or not that'd be a good or not so good ad for LSU's basketball team. Glenn West with us every Tuesday. He was with us at 1:30. And I gave some thoughts on McNeese suspending Will Wade for the first 5 games of next year. I don't get it. But that's what we talked about at the end of hour 1. Hour number 2, I previewed LSU and UNO tonight, 6:30 first pitch from the box. SEC baseball scheduling coming at you with some news with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. And then Sharif Ishak with us at 2:30. LSU and UNO tonight. We're reacting to it tomorrow with Chris Demouy. It's also a What If Wednesday. Jimmy Ott's game time tonight, 6 to 8. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place on Palmer Show.